What if you're addicted to success without knowing it? Why? Your obsession with success might be destroying you from within. Have you ever wondered why, even after hitting your goals, you still feel this weird emptiness, like something's missing, even when everything looks perfect on the outside? The answer might shock you. Maybe the problem isn't the lack of success, but how you're defining and chasing it. Neuroscience has revealed something fascinating about our brains. A study from the University of Rochester discovered that people who focus exclusively on extrinsic goals, money, fame, recognition, show higher levels of anxiety and depression, even when they achieve these goals. This happens because our brain's reward system adapts quickly, always demanding more to feel the same satisfaction. Think about it. How many times have you said, "When I get this, I'll be happy," and when you got it, you discovered that happiness lasted only a few days? That's the vicious cycle of dopamine. You're not broken, you're programmed to never be completely satisfied with external achievements. What really happens is we turn success into a drug. Each goal achieved is just a temporary hit, and soon, we need a bigger dose. We start living for the next objective, the next recognition, the next validation. And then comes the question nobody wants to ask. What if you're addicted to success? Modern culture sold you the idea that you need to always be growing, always improving, always conquering more. But what if this mindset is stealing your ability to simply exist, to feel pleasure in small things, to be present in the moment? Look at your routine. How many hours do you spend thinking about the future versus living the present? How many achievements have you had that you couldn't even celebrate properly because you were already focused on the next one? This is the invisible trap of modern success. It keeps you always running, but never arriving. Notice how you feel when you're not being productive. How even your rest moments need to have a purpose. This guilt you feel during downtime? That's proof that success has become your biggest enemy. You can't simply be anymore, you only know how to do. The irony is brutal. The more you optimize your life for success, the less successful you become at actually living. You measure every second, track every result, quantify every progress. But what about your soul? What about spontaneity? These parts of you are starving while you feed only the productive part. Practical action. Today, stop for 5 minutes and write down 3 things you've already achieved, but passed by without celebrating. Feel what it's like to recognize these forgotten victories. If you've felt this, comment, recognize, and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to discover how to reprogram this mindset. How your productivity addiction is sabotaging your mental peace. Ever noticed how guilty you feel when you're not doing anything productive? How even your rest moments need to serve a purpose? This is proof that success has transformed into your greatest tormentor. You can't simply be anymore, you only know how to perform. Modern society created a toxic productivity culture that convinced you that your worth as a person is directly tied to how much you produce. Every wasted minute becomes anxiety. Every pause becomes guilt. Every moment of leisure becomes failure. But here's what nobody told you. This mindset is literally destroying your brain. A Harvard University study showed that excess cortisol, the stress hormone caused by constant performance pressure, reduces the volume of the hippocampus, the region responsible for memory and learning. In other words, the more you pressure yourself to succeed, the less capable you become of actually succeeding. Think with me. When was the last time you did something without expecting any return? When was the last time you allowed yourself to be mediocre at something? When was the last time you said no to an opportunity simply because you didn't want it? The truth is, you're living like a performance machine, like a human being. You optimize every second, measure every result, quantify every progress. But what about your soul? What about your creativity? What about your spontaneity? These parts of you are dying of hunger while you feed only the productive part. The most ironic thing is that this obsession with efficiency is making you less efficient. When you can't relax anymore, your mind can't process information properly. When you can't play anymore, your creativity withers. When you can't simply be present anymore, you lose connection with your intuition. You've turned your life into a continuous optimization project, but forgot that some of the greatest insights, best ideas, and most meaningful moments happen precisely when you're not trying to force anything, when you're not performing. American culture especially pushes this hustle mentality. Everyone's grinding, everyone's optimizing, everyone's hacking their way to success. But nobody talks about the mental health crisis this creates. Nobody mentions the burnout epidemic. Nobody addresses the emptiness that comes from treating yourself like a productivity robot. You've been conditioned to believe that your value equals your output, that rest is laziness, that being still is falling behind. But what if the opposite is true? What if your greatest breakthroughs come from stepping back? What if your most authentic self emerges when you stop trying so hard? Practical action. Choose one activity this week that you'll do completely mediocre, with no improvement. Goals. Drawing, cooking, walking, anything. Just feel what it's like to do something without result pressure. If you recognize this pattern in your life, comment optimization and leave your like. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on breaking these mental patterns. What if you're chasing other people's success, not your own? Here's a brutal truth that's going to mess with you. Maybe you don't even know what you really want. Maybe everything you're pursuing are other people's desires disguised as your own dreams. What if all this suffering in the pursuit of success is because you're chasing the life others want you to have? Since childhood, you've been programmed to want certain things. Your parents wanted you to do well in school. Society wants you to have a prestigious career. Social media wants you to have an Instagram-worthy life. But what about you? When was the last time you stopped to ask what truly makes you happy, regardless of others' approval? A Princeton University study discovered that people who follow intrinsic motivations, those that come from within, show significantly higher levels of well-being and life satisfaction than those motivated by external factors like status or social recognition. This means you might be fighting against your own nature. Think about your current goals. How many did you choose because you really wanted them? And how many did you choose because that's what was expected of you? How many times have you achieved something and felt more relief than joy? That relief is the signal that you were running from others' disappointment, not pursuing your own fulfillment. Social pressure is invisible but devastating. You internalize others' expectations so deeply that you can't distinguish between what you want and what you think you should want. Do you pursue that expensive car because you really love cars, or because you want to show you've made it? Do you seek that promotion because you love the work, or because you need to prove your worth? Here's what hurts most. Maybe you're sacrificing years of your life pursuing things that don't even matter to you. Maybe you're postponing your happiness for goals that are, deep down, just social performances. Maybe you're living a borrowed life. The scariest part is discovering that, after so long chasing others' success, you don't even know who you are when you remove all these masks. Who would you be if you didn't need to impress anyone? What would you do if there was no judgment? How would you live if you didn't need to prove anything to anyone? American society particularly excels at selling dreams that aren't yours. The American dream itself has become a standardized package: college, career, house, family, retirement. But what if your dream looks completely different? What if success, for you, ain't something the culture doesn't validate? You've been living according to a script written by others, following a path carved by societal expectations, measuring yourself against metrics that might be completely irrelevant to your actual happiness and fulfillment. Practical action is your 3 biggest current goals. For each one, ask yourself honestly, do I want this because I really care, or because other people will validate me for achieving it? Be brutally honest. If this touched you, comment masks and leave your like to help me reach more people who need to hear this. Subscribe to keep deconstructing these illusions. How to reconnect with your true self after years of chasing illusions. Now, we reach the most important moment: how to escape this invisible prison you've built for yourself. How to rediscover who you really are underneath all these layers of expectations, pressures, and external definitions of success. Because the truth is, you're still there, beneath it all, waiting to be rediscovered. The first step is to stop running from silence. Our culture taught you to fill every second with stimuli, information, tasks. But it's precisely in silence that your inner voice can manifest. It's in boredom that your creativity flourishes. It's in the pause that you can feel what truly matters to you. A University of Virginia study showed that people who spent just 15 minutes daily in silent contemplation had significant improvements in mental clarity and decision-making. But here's the challenge. Can you spend 15 minutes alone with your own thoughts without grabbing your phone? Start questioning everything. Why did you choose the career you have? Why do you live where you live? Why do you relate to who you relate to? Don't accept, because it's always been this way, as an answer anymore. Your life isn't on autopilot. You have the right and duty to reprogram your choices. Rediscover your genuine passions. Remember those things you loved doing as a child, before someone told you they weren't practical or productive. Maybe it's time to revisit them, not to monetize, not to become the best, but simply because they bring you joy. Learn to celebrate small moments of authenticity. Every time you make a decision based on what you really want, not what others expect, celebrate it. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, even if it seems like a good opportunity, celebrate it. You're rebuilding your internal compass. True success isn't a destination, it's a state of alignment between who you are and how you live. It's waking up knowing your choices reflect your real values. It's sleeping peacefully because you're not betraying your essence. It's that simple, and at the same time, that revolutionary. You don't need to change everything at once. Start small. One authentic choice per day. One decision based on your heart, not your image. One moment of silence to listen to your inner voice. Gradually, you'll remember who you really are. The beautiful irony is that when you stop chasing success and start living authentically, real success, the kind that actually fulfills you, tends to follow naturally. When you're aligned with your true self, you make better decisions, attract the right opportunities, and create value that comes from a genuine place. Practical action. This week, choose one small thing you've always wanted to do, but never did, because it didn't make sense. Do that thing. You don't need to tell anyone, don't need to post it, don't need to justify it. Just do it, and feel what it's like to live for you, for others. If this video touched you somehow, comment authenticity, leave your like, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Subscribe, because our self-discovery journey is just beginning.